Well, we are live. I'm just going to double check and make sure everything's good to go real quick here. Tonight is a celebration live stream, but I also will say that if you are interested in super chatting, check out the description down below because um my mother-in-law passed away a week ago, and so I would like to do these live streams for this month. Any super chats, things like that. Um, I have a GoFundMe set up in her memory if you want to contribute to that. Or if you just want to super chat, and then once the super chats pay out, I'll put them into there. And that's kind of what I want to do. And that will go to the facility that she stayed in the last 2 years of her life. But let's get into it. So tonight's titled memories and monetization. So I'm going to talk about some memories. Let's get into why I started my channel. So it's been about 8 years or so ago. I was part of a Facebook page for Kevin Breeze, which many of you may know in the tech space. And then after a couple years in there, talking to different people and realizing that there are certain questions they had, but I didn't see any videos on them. So I started making videos just thinking about like, okay, these are devices that people want to talk about. And now, of course, over time, I realized that you can't just kind of be all over the place. So most recently, I've been focusing on Apple iPhone cases, Apple products and stuff, because instead of buying products just to review for the channel and then unboxing them and then realizing that I wasn't really going to use them and the content wasn't going to be easy to make and I was going to be kind of forced into it, I realized I should make content on products that I actually am going to use. So I almost always upgrade my iPhone every year, anyways. Uh, had more case companies reaching out to me. I really enjoy making that content, just talking kind of randomly about things, doing kind of a vlog style where, walking outside, just experimenting with different styles and talking about some of the functionality and talking about, it doesn't have good grip, um, the port opening, some of the things I realize that people don't necessarily point out, and I'm seeing more and more people point it out now, though, is if the opening here at the bottom is wide enough for a thicker cable, considering they have USB-C and they advertise, connecting up to external storage, some of those have wider cables, connecting up to a display, connecting up to adapters, things like that. It's important to cover. Same thing with iPads. So, my early memories of kind of tech before that, and I've made a video about this, was my grandpa. Um, he had one of the was a G4 IMAX where it was the hemisphere shape on the bottom and you could move it around on an arm. And he had sticky notes all over the place with keyboard shortcuts. And those keyboard shortcuts are still in play where you can, Command Shift 4 for a screenshot or Command Shift 3 for a full screenshot. Command Shift 5 brings you into screen recording. The ability now you can do Command Spacebar to bring up Siri or to search, I should say. Holding down the command button launches Siri if you're using a non-Apple keyboard, because the Apple keyboards, a lot of them have dedicated buttons along the top for some of those things different than the ones on there. Being able to print, doing all sorts of things with our technology, and my grandpa just enjoyed the simplicity of it. I remember Skyping with him and, doing those basic things, and now everything's become so complex. And for me, I think you'll notice that one of my mantras is kind of, I don't only talk tech, I live it. And what I mean by that is I like to talk to 'em about my technology and the way that I live with it. And not just, oh, here's the specs or here's some made up scenario. So you won't see me gaming because I don't game on my devices. But you see me talking about battery life because I do use my phone a lot, or my iPad battery life. You see me talking about um, using it outside, you'll see me talking about cases, screen protectors, protecting your device because the typical person is going to protect their device. So let's take a break and just say hello to some people that they come in. Hello, hello, Ricardo. Thank you. Sharkfin. Congrats again on hitting exceeding the monetization threshold onward and upwards, amigo. Yep. Jojo, how are you? Lewis, good evening. Well, my official first super chat. Awesome. Appreciate it. I'll need to get a super chat kind of song or type of thing ready for that. All the fun things that I'm going to be doing. One of the things I want to talk about too is memberships. So you see people have memberships, and we know that our fellow creators do members only live streams, and I love that. And one of the things though that I want to do, and we see like Easy will release videos early to members, and there might be videos that are only in the members area. So one of the things I want to do that's a little bit different though, that I've been thinking about that with that is, of course, this time of year as it gets colder, it might be a little bit more difficult. Is things though being like out and about, like maybe going and sitting somewhere and, as long as I have good enough signal, like live streaming on my iPhone or my iPad to you all so you like see a different experience, just getting out and about, going on a walk, maybe those types of things with me. Photo shoots so you can see like how I use my device and doing some of that stuff down the road in there, but not just tip, member only live streams where it's just this type of live stream, but talking about life in general, having guests on, and maybe, if you're a member, you get to see those things first, and then, later those are posted. So I really want to make it beneficial to people who do choose to join as a member. And, so I have varying prices down there, 2.99, 4.99, 9.99, 14.99, and you get different things as you go on. But all of those tiers allow you to be part of the members only live stream and view those live streams and be a part of the chat. So I didn't want to have it be like you have to pay a certain price to be part of those streams. But I will keep in mind that some of the higher tiers, I may do live streams. Some of the higher tiers do give you priority as far as if certain questions are asked, certain things down the line as far as early access and certain things like that. And so I want to show my appreciation to anybody who does become a member. Their name will also show at the end of every video. I will shout them out during live stream. So if you're new and you want to support the channel, a couple bucks a month or whatever can help me to be able to continue to provide good quality products to you all. And, I'm not sponsored. I'm still small, I'm growing. And so that's all I ask is that, I will try to provide the value to you that you choose to spend with me, whether it's time, whether it's money, things like that. So if you think about where technology has thrived so much, and I'm thinking about memories, and I think about, like I said, my mother-in-law passed away a week ago today. Um, we all take photos of our loved ones and videos of our loved ones. And one of the things that's interesting to me that I've used a little bit is this thing called personal voice, where you can um, basically you record yourself saying a certain number of statements for over a certain amount of time, like 15 minutes, and then you can type and it will talk kind of like you. One of the things I think about that, where the ethical side of that is that I have that done, and let's say something happens to me, and potentially my wife could get on my device and type out something and have it speak it out and maybe record that or Maybe there's a book. She could take a photo of the book and just copy the text from the book into a text document and select it all and have it read out in my voice. And I think eventually we'll see where that becomes a service where, maybe you have already done that. I know some people that do that. My sister tends to read books to her son, and there's these things that are called ponies, and they're these little figures that you set on the top of a box, and it will read out stories or it will tell you information about like certain animals, National Geographic, dinosaurs. There's all sorts of cool things that you can do with it. But you can get customized ones where you can then read little stories that are certain lengths and you can save them and it will go through that story. And there's not like an additional cost to do that. You're just buying the product. And I see down the line where through maybe AI, this becomes a thing. You've done these stories, but your child has gone through those or grown up, and or a grandchild is able to hear their grandparent's voice again. And I think that is not unethical. I think that's an okay way. Now, where I'm thrown off a little bit is when you see where people are using it to do deep fakes and advertising and pretending that somebody is supporting that or pretending that some politician said something they didn't or things like that. And that kind of scares me because the more content I put out there, the more videos I put out there, the more words I use, potentially somebody could take these videos, download them, grab the audio, feed it into a program, and essentially create something that sounds like me. They could even take the images of me and use like multi-point on the face to create something that looks like me. They could age it over time. As the technology gets better, they could improve it. Um, our devices, they scan our Face ID. There's been talks of already in the past, there's been hackers that have taken advantage of that and been able to grab that data. The lower quality 2D scan face version of it on Android devices that can be tricked with a photograph. There's companies that are using that. There's companies that were able to interfere with banking apps by doing that, and I'll actually get into people's banking accounts. So this is what concerns me with the technology. But when I think about where technology excites me, is the fact that I not only can record but create memories with the people in my life that I love. The fact that my son can video chat, FaceTime with my parents wherever they are. Every day he does it, sometimes multiple times a day. Sometimes he's sitting there and he likes to play Minecraft and we'll be playing that on the Xbox or the Switch, and my dad's just there, you know, and my dad can be doing dishes or making supper or doing whatever and just have his phone or his tablet there and just listen as Xander does, my son does his stuff. And it doesn't interfere with anything he's doing, but this is just an unbelievable interaction that doesn't exist, you know, without being there in the past. But now we can use this to communicate with people across the world. I mean, I'm chatting with people who are in Boston, who are in um mm, you know, different areas of the world. We have people in the chat here, right? In the live stream chat that are all um from different areas of the world or different areas of the United States, I should say. I've had people come into my videos that are from India. I've had people come in from the UK, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, all over the world, South America, Puerto Rico, wherever. And it's cool that we can interact. It allows me to have a voice that can help people no matter where they are. Do you have people that come in and they ask questions about something and they'll say, "Hey, is that available in a certain area?" And I was able to reach out to a case company and say, "Hey, do you sell in that area?" And they said, "Yeah, you know, send them to our Shopify page." So I did, and that's where they could purchase in that country because from Amazon or from their main website was limited to certain countries, but where they were, they could order from there, and the pricing was the same, and even being able to use my discount code and things like that. So for me, it's the idea that I'm not limited to who's in person, and that's just amazing. It's also a little bit scary because that means that people can that trust certain people, you have misinformation, and we see that happen all over the place. And unfortunately, we also see instances where, like on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, I muted certain words. And funny enough, during the election, I muted the names from both sides. But for some reason, all the Trump and Vance still came through, even though I muted it. So we see where people are using their power to override what your preferences are. And that's unfortunate because if I mute something, it shouldn't be, well, I don't want the platform shouldn't be able to say, well, we're not gonna mute it because we favor one side. Because they're saying free speech and that they won't censor, but at the same time, my preference to not hear certain talk. Same thing with, nudity. Maybe you mute certain words so that you don't see a bunch of explicit content on your page. Well, what if they're making a ton of money by advertising that, and so they decide, you know what, we're not going to block that. That's problematic, especially because there's users that are under 18 that are on there. A lot of social media websites allow 13 and up. And I'd be curious to know, do they filter that stuff out or do they just still allow it through? And the bots and the DMs that I get that are clearly from bots that have evolved and they're having these conversations, like asking me about certain tech related stuff, and clearly these bots are scanning my content, scanning what I've posted or scanning my videos and getting the automatic transcriptions out of there. And then they're able to interact with you and you have to like look at their photo or do a reverse image search. And the crazy thing is sometimes a reverse image search won't show anything. And usually that's actually when you know that it's a bot because they're using generative AI to make these images. You can go into ChatGPT and type in like Russian girl in coffee shop, and it'll come up with this image that looks like a real Russian girl in a coffee shop. Or you can type in, 25-year-old American male, um, working out or whatever, and it'll pop that out, and they can use that to target people. And so you have social engineering and you have targeted media, and it's scary to think that somebody like me who's educated and understands it versus people who aren't. I think that we need to talk about this more. We need to talk more about um, both the pleasantries and the dangers of the technology that we use. And more we're coming into a software world. The hardware isn't necessarily what's making the difference so much anymore. Yeah, the camera hardware is improving and the chips, processors are improving and we're getting faster memory and storage and faster charging and better battery performance. But software is where it's, is where things are going because that software can be on everybody's device. It doesn't matter what operating system you're running. It doesn't matter if it's Android, iOS, Mac OS, Windows, Linux. Um, you know, it doesn't matter what it is. Chrome OS, which is basically a kernel of Linux, but um, if I can create an application and with one click make it available across every platform, which there's software out there now that's making that easier. It translates it, makes it available no matter what operating system you're on, or a website where you can, go like generative AI, but what it's doing is grabbing data from your computer, like some of those websites are doing cookie traces and things like that. They're grabbing essentially not even necessarily your information, like, name and stuff like that, but information that's worse for them to have, like websites that you go to, things you've searched on Amazon, um, you know, potentially things you've had shipped to you because you are looking at, UPS and FedEx. They're grabbing stuff and they're creating ads that are targeting specifically, and they create this profile that's beyond just the basic stuff. No, they don't need to know your name, your address, any of that. They can grab location and that narrows it down. They can see your activity. So, um, you know, how often do you open email? Um, how often do you message? How often do you do calls? They're seeing that on your phone and grabbing that. Now, one thing I was reading about this week is something that's been out since iOS 12 where Apple has a trust score. And people were a little confused about that and thought, oh, Apple's, all for privacy. Are they grabbing our information? Yes and no. So they're creating the score by interpreting what you're doing on your device. And what they're doing that for is to prove if it's you or not. So if you go to launch a banking app and perhaps the usage pattern is different from your typical, the banking app asks for you to authenticate again. It doesn't just log in. It doesn't just use your fingerprint or your face to just authenticate again. It requires that you kind of verify your information, sends a pin to your phone number, does all this stuff. Well, companies have been doing this for a long time. You see like a lock icon on the bottom of pages, or was it Trust and McAfee and stuff. Microsoft, Google, Amazon all do it, and it's interesting because the way some of them do it is a little bit more dangerous because what Apple's doing is on device, and then they send the score. Basically, there's like a 0 to 100. The closer to 100, it's like a percentage. It's saying, "Oh, yep, that this is Michael Pepper." We can tell based it, the device, his iPhone monitored the usage and then sent this score. But it's not sending the information. It's not sending how it gets the results. Where some companies are quite literally recording like um, where the calls are coming from, text, things like that, the actual data within it, what they're about, what your web searches are specifically for, and using that so that they can focus the advertising at you and claiming, oh, we're using this to make sure it's really you. No, and that's problematic. Um, some of the companies where to like determine if you're looking at the screen where it uses the camera got caught grabbing snapshots of people's faces to know, like, "Oh, you're still on our website?" It's popping that up. One of the things that the newest iPhone has is dedicated hardware that's linked to the camera and microphone, and it can basically if a website doesn't need to have that or an app doesn't need to have that for some reason, doesn't legitimately need to have it, they're locked out from accessing it. They can't just access it in the background. They were doing that, and of course, the little dot shows up, but how many people ignore that or have open another website? And so it's crazy to me that companies are allowed to get away with certain things, and so that's scary. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll go through them here a little bit. Heck for needs, what is one thing you would like to bring back to your channel that you did before? Um, all honesty, I would like to start looking at cheaper devices again. Um, you know, a lot of people are buying or, they go into the carrier and they know, okay, what device can I get for free? So like Samsung's A line, A35, A55, what are they up to, the 16 now and 56 and all that that's gonna be out this year. Or, like the Google Pixel, 9a when that comes out. I would love to do that. Like, the tech that people live with, like I said, I don't only talk tech I live with, but if you look at the number of devices that Samsung sells, the, like, 260 million devices, there's, like, 220 million of those will be the A line. Their highest end line, the S series, the flips and folds account for, like, 37 million of the whole lineup. Apple will sell 37 million, like, they sold 37 million iPhone 16 series on launch weekend, and they'll sell, 240 to 260 million iPhones altogether, and those will be, like, all within the mostly within that lineup, maybe some previous year, but, like, some, like, 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max, but they'll all be high end. You don't see a ton of people buying the SE. Not a lot of it's like refurbished iPhone, 13 Pros or whatever. People are buying those in the used market, but that doesn't count as a sales from Apple. Where a lot of the Samsung market, their sales numbers are high, but their profit margin, their revenue is lower because it's people buying the cheaper devices. And so I would love to touch on those devices, but again, like I said, I talk about the tech that I use, and I don't really use that because for my needs, they're not going to offer some of the things I want. I would really like to do is get into covering devices that aren't really sold here in carriers. Touch on the iQOOs and the Vivos and the Oppos and the Xiaomis and things like that, and looking at like the iQOO Z9 Turbo with Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 and for like under four under $400. It was a 349, 269, depending on which one you get. There's the Z9 Turbo and Z9 Turbo Plus. One has the Snapdragon 8S Gen 3, the other has the MediaTek Dimensity 9300 Plus. Now we're going to see the 9400. And, I've touched on devices in the past. I've gotten Samsung devices for the last so many years. I owned all the folds and up to the Fold 5, and I owned a couple of the flips and Galaxy watches, and I've owned a few Pixels and stuff like that. But I just feel like just because I live in the United States doesn't mean that I can't buy devices that are sold elsewhere and touch on those and try to touch on like, hey, maybe if you're in the US, yeah, you have to understand warranty is going to be a little bit different, but like GizTop offers 2-year warranty, and as far as that goes, they kind of handle stuff. So if there is a fault with it, you're not going to get like, oh, I dropped it, and but if you need to get it repaired, they will handle that for you. You're going to pay, but, like, if you ship it back to them and you wanna make sure it gets to a repair place there, they'll handle that and then ship it back to you. I've, experienced that. You think you'd be getting the OnePlus 13? I would love to. I've had, let's see, the OnePlus 6T, 7T, 8, 9, 11, and 12. I never owned some of the early day ones or, like, the 7 Pro with the pop-up camera, the or like the 10 Pro, the 10T. I skipped in there. And part of that was when I did have the 6T, the 7T, the 8, and the 9, they were basically you had to be on there were kind of a way that you could be on Verizon, but mostly you had to be on T-Mobile, and at the time, T-Mobile is or was problematic as far as um, pretty weak signal, wasn't really all over the place. You had to basically have Verizon, And actually, AT&T was better than T-Mobile. Now T-Mobile has stepped it up. Their speed, their coverage is pretty solid. In some areas, better than Verizon. Verizon is, I would say, and T-Mobile are kind of neck and neck now. And AT&T around here is pretty much non-existent where I am. There's some areas where they have it and speeds are fast, but like it's like dead zone most of the place. Um, what was the next device you're planning to buy? Oh, um, I don't know that I'm planning on buying a device for a while, but like I said, I'd like to get the OnePlus 13. Um, Birthday's coming will be in March. I'm thinking, um, if I can get memberships and super chats and just things going and save up some money and maybe get some sponsored videos and just be able to get some accessories. I really want to, having used the ESR keyboard, which I'll be doing video on that, in the Logitech Combo Touch keyboard. Um, I see where Apple's Magic Keyboard is um, appealing, considering you just stick it to it. And there's cases out there now that work with it, and then you don't have to worry about, oh, the one thing I like is how you can plug a cable into the bottom where the hinge area is on their keyboard, and it charges it. Because one of the problems with like some of the third party ones is you put a cable on there, and some of these cables for monitors can be kind of heavy and it can actually pull on it a little bit. Or since there's only one port on the iPad itself, you have to use a dongle to be able to plug in a charger, a monitor, and headphones. Or I have in-ear monitors I like to use to listen to music, or watch videos sometimes, and using these adapters to get multiple ports. Where with that, I could have it plugged in, charging, and then just an adapter for headphones or adapter for the monitor, and then use my Bluetooth headphones. Um, so hey, Miles, I just saw your message. Yeah. Oof, COVID going around again. Ed Savage says, I like how Motorola app management scheme works. Yeah, my from the last experiences I've had with Motorola, which has been a while, but I had the Z3 Play. I loved that. Talking about memories. Oh my gosh. I had the Motorola Z3 Play. I had the projector for it, the speaker, the battery. I did not have the camera or like the generic back for it, but I ended up trading those towards buying a car at the time. This was like years ago, and I kind of thought about picking up one again. The thing is, some of those mods are kind of steep in price. And then there was the Moto Z4, where Verizon had the 5G mod that you could put on it to give it millimeter wave. Otherwise, you had normal 5G, like ultra wideband, like or normal. But then to get millimeter wave, the high speed, you had this pack that went on it because that contained battery, so that it could run the modem, but also provide battery so you didn't burn through your battery on your phone. Now it's crazy that we have that stuff, in these devices that where our phone basically altogether is the same thickness as that mod was on it. Of course, Motorola also has Ready for, which from what I've seen and my buddy, our buddy Juan has talked about it and excuse me, different people have demonstrated Ready for is pretty amazing. Um, I would love to see some of that stuff come back. Like Sa- Samsung has DeX, but I would love to see like a laptop where a phone can kind of dock into it. We see these lap docks where you can connect it up and stuff, but most of them, like when you do that, the battery life you get all together is not that great, and then it's like a 1080p display. If you go wireless, it's only 30 hertz. If you go wired, it's 60. But like the big display will have a worse resolution and lower brightness than your phone altogether. And you could hold your phone closer to in your hands like this and watch stuff. If I'm doing this, that size screen, oops, sorry, holding this up like this close, that covers my whole 17-inch screen basically. So I'm holding my phone at normal length, and so I don't get so yeah, the Motorola Atrix, that was the phone you could dock. I love the concept on that. Or Google Ara, a program where it was supposed to be a modular phone. Um, you know, we see MagSafe where you can slap a battery on the back or a wallet, and now there's these ones where it's a hard drive and then it plugs in. But what would be cool is to see where there's a battery pack that goes on the back, but also has storage in it, and then some and can be connected via like Bluetooth, and you could access the storage wirelessly, or Samsung, or like to see an Android device have a version of it, and then use quick share protocol. So like, oh, I'm done with a video or a photo, quick share and send over to it, and it could even have a little display on it that kind of communicates that that's done, or you just connect to it via Bluetooth and you can see, oh, it's transferring and done like within an app. Or Apple could do that with AirDrop, and that would be sweet. Like, um, or even having like a drive that you can carry in your pocket that you can access via, like send stuff via AirDrop, but also access it kind of wirelessly. There were some companies that were doing that at one point, but imagine, you record video and then on your device, and then when you're done, it just beams it over. You could plug it in wired for if you need that full transfer speed for like shooting ProRes or whatever. But if you're just somebody who shoots a lot of photos, so each file is kind of smaller, but you could do a lot of them. I think it would be awesome to have basically like kind of like a portable NAS, like network attached storage, but like on the go. And then you could, through an app, allow other people to send to it. So imagine you are having a family event and everybody, oh, it's oh, we're here and it's Ed's birthday. Let's all take our pictures, and or meeting up with some fellow creators, and you just through an app you invite certain people. So I'm getting to that. So the only thing is security. That's Savage says the only thing is security. So you connect to it wirelessly. Maybe it snaps on the back, connects via NFC, and then you put in a pin, and people have to enter that pin to connect, or you invite certain people and they're in your contacts, or you hold up your phone to theirs and that allows them to connect for that time until you hit to end that. The other thing that would be cool with that is you could create like how you have shared albums in like Google Drive now. Imagine you could do through Google Drive, but to a device, to it stored on your device. So then you send the link to them. Everybody on their phone just goes in, adds to that drive, and through the air it goes through, but then ends up on this physical drive. Um, would be pretty slick, like a wireless MagSafe, but with data, maybe with pins that connect in there. Um, I mean, I remember there was a company that made an SD card that you could plug into your camera, and it would create a Wi-Fi network. And then through an app, you could connect to it. And I remember connecting an iPod Touch to it when I was taking my photo classes and using an app that allowed you to stitch together photos for panoramas. Because one of my assignments, I had to and take set images and then stitch them together and make a panorama. And I wanted to be able to know that the results were going to be good when I got home. So I had my iPod Touch, I had this app, and I had this SD card. I can't think of the company. I know it was orange. Anyways, put it in it, took the photos. They transmitted over to the iPod Touch as I was taking them. The JPEGs did. The RAWs were saved on my Nikon D5000. I still had that camera. And then I was able to take the JPEGs through this app and stitch them together, and it stitched them together in like 30 seconds. And I looked and go, okay, the results are good. They lined up with enough overlap. Got back home, connected the camera, pulled the raw files in, stitched them in. Well, I was using Pixelmator, and made a panorama, and then edited that final raw image to get the details and the shadows and the highlights and everything just right. And that saved me so much time, because imagine if it didn't line up and I had to go back out there, or wait till the next day, because I was doing the project over the weekend and was trying to get just the right timing, like that golden hour over the lake, the sun's just coming in just right. It was beautiful. I don't know if I had the photo somewhere. I know I have a LaCie 6 or 8 terabyte, um, you know, be a regular 7200 RPM hard drive at the time. And I don't even know if I'd be able to access it anymore, because the file formats have changed. That's one thing to consider, and to think about, is file formats. If you have older storage and you've got a newer computer, I still have my old Mac Mini, my 2010 or 2011 Mac Mini. That's the last Mac Mini I had until now. It's the first desktop Mac I've ever had. The second was an M1 iMac. Apart from that, I've never had another desktop Mac. I've had MacBook Airs, a couple MacBook Pros. But what I was saying is, if you have older storage, make sure that if you're gonna go get rid of a computer, maybe you connect up that storage to it and transfer it to newer storage. Transfer all those files to, solid state, or to a newer hard drive. Back them up. Make sure it's formatted so that's NTFS. Now Apple is APFS, so you make sure you use universal format. Let's see, exFAT32 is more universal in some areas, but unfortunately limits your file size. So if you have huge videos, that can become problematic. I had a photo, I remember it was like 32 gigs, because it was like 6 or 8 layers for HDR, panorama. It was all raw for each image and then stitched together. So that was, huge. Lewis says, "Are you streaming from the Mac Mini M4?" I am. So let's talk about my setup right now. I'm sitting on my couch, and behind me, so this is my left, this is my right. It's opposite to you, but to my left, and my right, I have 2 Philips Hue lights, like the desk lights. One is blue, the other is set to like an orange. And then in front of me, I have this, on my lap, I have the MX Master 3 mouse, and the MX keyboard. Then on this table, I have, the camera I'm using, it's actually my 15 Pro Max using continuity camera. It is plugged in with a cable running into the back of the Mac Mini. The other cable that's in the back of the Mac Mini is connected to an Espresso Display 17 Pro 4K portable monitor, which is using one of their stands, and that's sitting on top of the Mac Mini box, which next to the Mac Mini box, to the right of it is the Mac Mini. To the left of it is my Scarlett, Focusrite Scarlett Solo Gen 3, running with an X, and then that's connected into the third port on the back of the Mac Mini, and then XLR cable running to this AKG P120 microphone, and then, I have a ceiling light on up there, and that's my setup right now. I do want to get so it's on a little side table that's probably, like I think it's, like, 15 by 15 or 16 by 16 maybe, and I wanna get a stand. You've probably seen these where there's, like, a base, and they're usually, like, maybe a V-shaped base with some wheels, and then they have a platform where you can set a laptop on it or whatever. But what I wanna get is one and then there's a where there'd be a post along the back, and off from that post, I can mount my camera, whether it's my phone or my Sony, A6100. And then, on a shelf, I would like to have on the top shelf would be, like, the audio interface and the Mac Mini, and then a monitor would be mounted up above, and and then have, like, a keyboard and mouse tray, and just be able to have it up a little bit higher, or I'll just use the keyboard and mouse on my lap when I'm here, but I'd like to be able to have that whole setup plugged into, like, one power strip, and be able to have that kinda in my office on the couch, get rid of my desk, and have that for, like, my live streaming setup and talking head, and then as far as top down, have a smaller desk, and then be able to, like, wheel that out into, my room. Because right now I have this desk. I did post a photo on Twitter. Let me see, I'm gonna pull up this photo. I posted a few photos of some setups, but this is what I was doing. Um, so I have this white desk with a gray desk mat on it, next to my bed. And I had 2 of the Espresso 17 Pro monitors hooked up, and then there's a HomePod behind it. There's another HomePod on my wife's side of the bed, but anyways, I use that or I just use my AirPods Max, but I have that setup out there and then having to move, like, between the 2. Right now, I have one of the other Espresso Display 17 monitors just out there, and when I'm done with the stream, I can just turn off the Mac Mini, unplug it, the few cables from the back of it here, and I'll bring it out there, plug it into that one, take my keyboard and mouse and my headphones with me, and go watch one of the shows I've been watching. Or sometimes I plug in my iPad to it and use that. The other thing is Sidecar. Um, what I really want to do is I need to find, or I might end up having to buy another one. Is I had a dual monitor arm, and then Espresso Display did send me over their VESA mounts, which mean basically I can connect the VESA mounts, and then the the portable monitors would connect with the magnets on the back of them to it. And so I want to find the dual monitor arm and use that um, so that I can have 2 monitors up and have it be more stable. And I'm thinking get a more stable table with wheels on it, and then maybe dual monitor arms. And one of the monitor arms would be for the monitor, and then a lower one. Um, I can bring one lower, and actually, there's mounts that you can get that you can put that on that have a tray. And the Mac Mini weighs 1.5 pounds. The audio interface is maybe another pound, and so I could have those set on that easily. The Mac Mini is kinda crazy how small it is. Um, like, my iPhone is a good inch taller than the width, or the depth of the Mac Mini. The Mac Mini is maybe a third the height of it. It's maybe is up to here on my iPhone. Like, as far as the power button being on the bottom, I will mention that doesn't bother me. It's so light, you just lift it up and hit it. Or if you mount it under the desk, it's, like, in the perfect spot. Theoretically, you could take the whole Mac Mini and flip it upside down and just run it that way. Now you'd have to be careful that you don't, like, set something on top of it or, like, spill something on top of it because then the fans would just suck everything in. But if you're unboxing certain things and, like, you get dust, like, paper dust particles on your desk, those could potentially get sucked into the fan, and I've yet to hear the fans turn on. It is super cool to the touch. It's not getting warm at all. A matter of fact, nothing I'm using is getting warm. Let's see. Um, my 15 Pro Max is pretty cool. Everything's running pretty cool here. So look forward to kind of seeing this setup, this kind of layout on the couch, talking tech discussions, talking, stuff coming back, but also just covering the tech that I'm using. Um, I have a case video that I dropped. Um, Multiple case videos. If you're new to the channel, iPhone user, check out my case videos. I have, case videos for the last few generations of like 14 Pro Max, 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max, 16 Pro Max. iPad cases. I have discussions on AI and ethics, discussions on what got me into tech. There's all sorts of stuff. Almost 300 videos on my channel now. I do tutorials every once in a while. Just kind of whatever's on my mind, but lately it's trying to be really focused on things. And of course, follow me on my social medias. On Twitter, I'm at Michael Pepper T. Capitalize the M, the P, and the T. On YouTube, Michael Pepper Tech. On Instagram and Threads, Michael Pepper Tech, or Michael Pepper Photography. I also have on X a Michael Pepper Photography page. And of course, stay tuned for more. And if you aren't subscribed, please do so. Also, like I said, memberships are up if you would like to support the channel in that way. Also, all of my live streams, like I said, for this month, any super chats that anybody wants to do, feel free to, or like I said, you can check out the description for the information as far as funding for the place that my mother-in-law spent the last 2 years of her life in. And so thanks for everybody coming on by. Thanks, Lewis, for your super chat. If I can get back to it here, $2 super chat, my first super chat. Whoop whoop. And of course, if anybody has any questions, put those down in the chat. If you have any questions and you're watching the replay, put those in the description. If you are part of the replay crew, of course, hashtag replay crew, red pepper in the chat on our way out. Everybody put a spicy hot pepper in the chat as we head out for the night. Don't forget, tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern will be Gigi's live stream. On Wednesday at 9 is Wired Wednesday on Eric's channel, the Touch Preacher. Hey, Ed, thank you. Second super $2.13. I knew you'd have to do the 13. That's actually my lucky number. I was born on 3/10/90. So 3/10 and 3 and 10 is 13. My oldest brother was born on 10/3, October 3rd, so that's also 13. My grandma was one of 13. I am the 13th grandchild on both sides of the family and the youngest. There are actually 15 grandchildren on each side, but I was the 13th born. There were 2 that were adopted on both sides, but so we will. Oh, Lewis says I sent you the mount you're talking about on the phone on your phone. Oh yeah. So let's see. Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. This type of thing. So, actually, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this a little bit different. I am going to um pop this on to Amazon. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go, let's see, present, share screen, window, Safari, share, um, oh, it's not letting me, I'm gonna have to, open system settings, Microsoft Edge. Oh, later. I can't do screen sharing right now until I had to enable the permissions for that. Let's see, window. Well, I'll have to get that fixed before next live stream. It's gonna kick me out of the of StreamYard when I go to share that. But it is the near overhead camera rig. I can do this for people interested in what I was talking about. That's not it. Delete. Um. Dang it! Come on here. Copy. There we go. Boom. Oh, of course it's gonna do it in more than one. I hate that. Anyways, it's the newer overhead camera rig desk mount live broadcast arm stand with Twitch gaming streaming multi-camera. $69.99 it's 46% off, and there's another 20% off coupon. So that's pretty nice. I'll have to check that out. Thank you, Lewis. But like I said, so Wired Wednesday is on Wednesday, and then Thursday, I may or may not be back for a typical live stream. I haven't decided yet. Videos will be coming out throughout the week. Make sure you turn on notifications and do all that stuff. And then Friday, Holla at Your Boy will have his live stream. And then we'll be back around to Tech for Your Needs next Monday. And I may or may not go live after him again. I'm trying to decide if I want to go live Mondays at 8 or if I want to go live Thursdays at 9. Kind of let me know what you think. I might do both. Sometimes I just do these impromptu. So again, make sure you have the notifications turned on. And thanks, Savage, for the super chat. Thanks to Lewis for the super chats. Thanks to everybody who came on through. Thanks to Ricardo, new subscriber to the channel. Miles, Michael C, Savage, Sharky, Jojo was in here earlier. And of course, Replay Crew. Don't forget to do your thing. If you're new, subscribe. As always, my name is Michael Pepper of Michael Pepper Tech. I don't only talk tech, I live it. Enjoy your week. Live with your tech. Peace, love. See you in the next video. See you on the next live stream, I should say. And see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace and love.